back, everybody, to coming to Petaluma's annual Veterans Day Parade, where we're able to honor and respect all military women in the city of Petaluma and in the nation. Our Coast Guard showed up in their civilian clothes. We're a Coast Guard city, and even with the shutdown, we couldn't have done it without them. So thank you so much for coming. We honor the military women here in the city of Petaluma and all that they've done. So with that, we'll start right away, and I'd like to introduce a very special woman to me, a very dear friend, and she also happens to be our chaplain with the American Legion, with the invocation.
Today, we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect their country. We are especially proud of our women here today, who collectively served over the past 70 years. Let us pray. Lord, thank you for honoring our veterans today. Let us walk toward tomorrow still honoring them by living in the freedom they protected. We pray for your continued blessing on all who have served, from those who are with us today to those who've gone before us. Grant them strength, peace, and healing, and fill their hearts with the knowledge of our deep appreciation. Help us to never forget the cost of liberty and to remember the bravery of those who have stood on the front lines for our nation. May their legacy inspire us to serve one another with courage and compassion in our daily lives. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Now I'd like to introduce Andrew Kraut.
Good afternoon. Please remove cover and join me for our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs first seen in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Next, I'd like to introduce a gentleman in politics who has done more for the veterans than I've ever seen in my entire life. Whenever something needs to be done on behalf of Veterans Services, we give him a call and it just happens. So with that, I'd like to introduce Supervisor David Rabbit.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate that, and I am honored to participate in today's program. And I appreciate the opportunity to say a few words. I want to thank you, Joe, for spearheading today's parade, and for all of those who have worked to make today so successful. And I agree with you, that was quite a parade. And hats off again to our Coast Guard friends for volunteering, being here today. Really appreciate that. Coast Guard has been hand in glove with the County of Sonoma and the City of Petaluma over the years through all disasters. You name it, if you need a helping hand, one call to the Coast Guard brings out the forces, and we appreciate that so much. You know, in 2023, the Pentagon reports that a little over 6% of the United States population was made up of military veterans. In California, that number is closer to 4%. Military service most often runs in families, as 80% of new recruits report a close family member as a veteran. That tells us that very few families produce the vast majority of the United States military, and we all need to keep these numbers in mind as we thank those who sign up to serve and who have served in defending our nation and its interests. And so to all the active members of the military and to our veterans with us today, thank you for your service. To their families, thank you for your sacrifice and for sharing your family members so that we can be part of they can be part of the most potent military force the world has ever known. I am proud of how Petaluma and Sonoma County works to honor and support our military and veterans. We recognize that the service and sacrifices of our veterans does not end when they return home. We understand it is our collective responsibility to ensure our veteran population, some 20,000 strong, receive all earned benefits. We have never wavered in our support of a strong county veterans service office, who last year assisted over 11,000 veterans file 2,700 VA claims, providing nearly $15 million in new benefits awarded to veterans and their loved ones. I also want to thank the Sonoma County Veterans Service Office, staffed primarily by veterans, for the good work in serving and advocating for our veteran community in the county. You know, today's parade theme is a salute to the military women with the Redwood Empire, Unit 77, and military women across the nation serving as the Grand Marshal. Again, we are fortunate to have strong leadership locally within our women veterans and auxiliary ranks. We all know that the women have a strong history of military support, starting with unofficial roles like nurses and cooks during the Revolutionary War, and expanding to official roles in the 20th century. We are a better nation, a safer nation, with full integration and women reaching high-ranking leadership positions. Today also marks Today, I believe, marks the 58th year that Petaluma has hosted a Veterans Day Parade. And although I said this last year, I think it's worth repeating. It's a story that, to me, that really sums up how Petaluma bands together. You know, the Veterans Day Parade was not a very auspicious start. The parade was first held in 1967 when Julius Percucci and two World War I buddies threw together in town, walked through town carrying a flag. When one World War veteran passed and the other was ill, Julius carried that flag by himself through downtown to honor all veterans. And within a year, 50 veterans joined him, and a Petaluma tradition was truly born. And today, thanks to folks like Steve Kimmerly and Joe Norial, the parade typically has around 200 entries and draws a crowd of up to 40,000 people. Not sure what we have today, but Julius Percucci, I want to thank him for taking that initiative to honor his fellow veterans. That is an inspiring thing to do. For sticking with it when he could have stayed home is obviously very commendable. In September of 1988, Julius passed away at the age of 94, and in that Veterans Day Parade, a riderless horse with its stirrups tied to the saddle led the parade in his honor. Again, very much a Petaluma story, one I'm proud of. Proud to live in this community that honors those who serve and those who have served. It runs deep and strong. So may God bless all of our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, National Guardsmen, and our reservists, past and present. Thank you all.
As mentioned, the Grand Marshals, Redwood Empire Military Women's Unit 77, and what they do for this community is outstanding, and they don't give up, they keep pushing, and we're honored that they could have been the Grand Marshals today. So with that, I'd like to introduce their president, Maura Mooney.
Hello, my name is Maura Mooney, and as Joe said, I'm the current president of Unit 77, Military Women Across the Nation. I think you're going to hear a recurring theme here today about women in military service. I don't want to repeat everything people have said, but you know, women have been in the military in every conflict that this country has had. Sometimes having to disguise themselves as men just to serve. I'm really glad we don't have to do that now. But they did, and they accomplished quite a bit. Starting with clerical billets to moving to ground, air, sea combat roles. We have women veterans in Congress. We have women veteran governors now, and in every branch of the service, women serve in very high-ranking places. I just want to focus very, very briefly on one person I've always admired, never met. She was in the United States Navy. Her name was Rear Admiral Grace Hopper. So she tried to join the Navy Reserves in World War II. She was a mathematician. She was teaching at Vassar College, but it was decided that her work there was much more important than what she could contribute to the service, to the Navy. Plus, she didn't meet the height and weight requirements. So she went back to school, went back to teaching. The Navy realized that yes, we do need that kind of person, and she got a waiver. She retired at the age of 60 at the rank of Commodore, which is no longer a rank, but she was recalled a year later in 1967 because she was recognized as one of the top contributors to computer language and mathematics, and this was all before, you know, we were carrying around computers in our pockets and talking on the phone. She developed some coding languages and moved technology forward both in the service and in the community sector. The civilian sector. So she remained on active duty until 1985 at the age of 79. Most of us are doing something else at that age and not on active duty. So she was on active duty longer than just about anybody in any branch. She is now buried at Arlington with full honors. So this is just one example of what women can accomplish, what they're recognized for. There's many, many other stories, but I've always been impressed with this one. A woman way ahead of her time, doing things that, you know, women at that time didn't do. So again, thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, Mara. Our next speaker, I don't even know where to start with her. You pick up any Vietnam Veterans magazine, and there she is, right on the cover, very detailed, and it's so well deserved. I mean, reflecting back on her story, being in the Vietnam War, a nurse, what she witnessed, what she went through, her courage, her strength, her determination to handle something I don't think psychologically many of us could handle. And in Vietnam, she made an incredible difference. And I know her as part of Vietnam Veterans Chapter 223 and many women's national committees on Vietnam veterans. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kate O'Hara-Palmer.
Thanks, Joe. I don't think I'm on the cover of all those magazines, but at least I'm not on the last page because that's the obituaries, so we're not quite there yet. Hi, everybody. I am Kate, and thanks for coming to this event. And I just love this parade. Is this parade the greatest in the country? It is the greatest. I mean, I'm so happy to be home and not in DC today, so this is great. And I want to thank all the dignitaries that came out. Thanks, Rabbit. It's really nice to hear your words. I hope I don't repeat everything you said, but where's Pete Ogden? Is he sitting down below? I thought maybe he was going to say a few words too, but anyway. We gather here today to honor the men and women who have served our nation with courage, discipline, and devotion. This is a day not only to remember their sacrifice, but to renew our promise to care for those who have served their country, domestically and overseas. Some served in peacetime and others served during wartime or conflicts. We all did our job. We honor all those families that supported them from the home front. We recognize the Gold Star families who lost a family member in the ultimate sacrifice. We all raised our hand and vowed to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. I served in the Army Nurse Corps in 1968-69 in Vietnam as an operating room and emergency room nurse. It changed my life. For many years, when I came home, I didn't speak about it. I went to Berkeley, got my jobs, went on with my life, raised a family. And finally, when the Women's Memorial was dedicated in 1993 back in DC, I had to go back and meet up with my buds. And a lot of us got back together. It was like our true high school reunion. We all served in different hospitals, and it was a great time to get back together. Kristen Hanna has written a book called The Women. It came out last year. And I know I saw some of my pool peeps from Kavanaugh Pool here today, and that book is running around the group, and everybody's reading it now, and it talked about our service in Vietnam. Kristen Hanna interviewed a lot of us. She read our oral histories, and she wrote that fictionalized story of a women's role in Vietnam during the Tet Offensive and many years after that. It tells a lot about our tours and the difficulties we had when we came home. It did happen, and we were there. And when we came home, nobody recognized us because they said women weren't there. But we were there. And Joe Norial, a few years ago, our fearless where is he? Our fearless veteran promoter, he interviewed me for the Argus Courier. My story is there, and he brought out aspects that I hadn't talked about before. He does have a way of doing that with people. He meets a lot of people and he gets their stories. Accepting what we had accomplished took time, and getting past our inability to save so many young lives. That is the burden that haunted us who served in the medical corps for years. And I can now say that it was an honor beyond a job, and we gave our all. Much of the history for women's service in the military was invisible. Maura talked about that. And by World War I and II, women were serving openly in all branches of the service. In the modern era, from the 70s to today, and I was talking to somebody earlier, and I realized a lot of people don't know this. Until 1972, there was a congressional mandate that held only 2% of the military could be women in the military. Only 2%, congressional mandate. In 1972, that was raised so that more women could go into the military. That's why we had so few before. You know, 51% of our population today is women. Just remember that. So, Senator Tammy Duckworth is one of my role models. She was a helicopter pilot in the Iraq War. She lost 2 legs and lost the use of one of her arms. She's one of our greatest advocates today back in DC. Women who serve in combat roles already are subjected to the same standards as men. Those standards apply to specific combat special operations, infantry armor, pararescue, and other jobs regardless of age or gender. She also asserts that diversity, including language skills, strengthens our military. Our nation's commitment to its veterans is not a gift, it's a sacred obligation. From the first pension acts of the 18th century to the GI Bill that transformed America after World War II, and the new GI Bill after the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, we had a contract that we signed up for when we went into the military, and the U.S. government gave us a contract that they would take care of us when we came home. It's a simple truth. Those that serve our nation deserve care, dignity, and opportunity when they return home. Part of our enlistment contract, as I said, was that care. It was an obligation, and it is still an obligation today. After World War I and World War II, some of the veterans had to go marching in the streets to demonstrate to get those care that they deserved. In the 70s, when Vietnam veterans came home, we had to march and we had to lobby for the care that was needed after the toxic exposures that we were exposed to and the many kinds of cancers that we have endured. Yet today, the promise still needs our attention. More than half of the DoD budget goes to private companies, not to military personnel. Veterans face these persistent challenges of mental health struggles that need soul repair after war's trauma and loss of innocence. Once you know the truth, you can no longer believe in fiction. Let me say that again. Once you know the truth, you can no longer believe in fiction. So repairing the split between our mission and our government's agenda is key, and we must all be alert to that. Delayed access to care, housing insecurity, and barriers to employment are other areas where veterans need help when they first come home. Women veterans continue to encounter gaps in recognition and resources. The VA healthcare and benefits have improved. I worked for the VA for 17 years, I know, but we cannot let it be torn down again now for the sake of budget constraints. We can and we must do better. We need to fund programs that give our veterans the necessities that they need. We need to expand mental health and trauma care, ensure accessible child care and family support, and address homelessness that many of our veterans are seeing when they come home. We need to equip the VA with the real lives of the 21st century veterans' needs. It means recognizing that service doesn't look one way, and that every veteran, regardless of gender, deserves to be seen and supported. Leadership is a skill that is fostered in the military and carries over into the private sector. Leadership is not about being in the front. It's about being the reason that you help move people forward. We have shared a duty, the nation's role in upholding this promise. Caring for veterans is not the work of the government alone, it's shared duty for all of us. Our community here in Petaluma is wonderful. We have never had such a great offer to help by so many service organizations and so many community organizations in our town. I love this town. They're the best. But we honor our veterans by educating the generation, by teaching our young people that freedom and democracy have a cost, and that it is paid by the dedication of ordinary Americans who do extraordinary things. Today, let us remember our veteran service and uphold their well-being. Let us make sure that every veteran, every woman and man who has served this nation knows that we haven't forgotten them, and we never will. Let's honor them with not just the words of gratitude, but with our actions, worthy of their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Our last two speakers, two incredible women, two completely different women with both amazing talents. Susan Bray is a sculptor out of Marin County, and she created a remarkable work. It's called The Pledge, and you'll find that at Arlington National Cemetery. It's a memorial honoring female servicewomen and animal holders. Susan?
Hello everyone, it's really an honor to be here today. Yes, I'm Susan Bahari, and I'm a sculptor who's had the honor of creating works that pay tribute to those who serve, both our nation's veterans and the animals who stood with them so faithfully. I'm also the founder, sculptor, and chair of the National Service Animals Monument nonprofit, leading the effort to establish a national monument in Washington, D.C., honoring the service, sacrifice, and bond between people and the animals who serve with them. We did get congressional authorization to build, and we're fundraising now, so we're very honored and excited. It has truly been the honor of a lifetime to tell these stories through sculpture, to give form to courage, compassion, and devotion in bronze, so their legacy endures. Today, as we celebrate Veterans Day, I want to shine a light on the women who've worn our nation's uniform, trailblazers who served long before it was easy to do so. One such woman was Dr. Mary Edwards Walker, the only woman who was ever awarded the Medal of Honor. A Civil War surgeon, she treated soldiers on both sides of the battlefield, and as you heard earlier, often wearing men's clothing because it was the only practical way to do her job. And when she was captured and held as a prisoner of war, she refused to give up her mission of care. Her courage and conviction helped redefine what service could look like. Then there's Charity Adams Early, the first African American woman to command a unit of U.S. Army women in World War II. She led the 6,888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, responsible for clearing a 2-year backlog of mail for troops in Europe. Her motto was simple: no mail, low morale. In 6 months, her women processed millions of letters and packages connecting soldiers to home when it mattered most. And more recently, General Anne E. M. Dunwoody made history in 2008 as the first woman in U.S. history to achieve the rank of 4-star general. She once said she never set out to break a glass ceiling, only to do her job well. But her example opened doors for countless women to follow. From the battlefield surgeon to the postal commander to the 4-star general, each of these women carry the same torch of service that burns in all who wear the uniform, proving that leadership and sacrifice know no gender. As a sculptor, I believe bronze can speak when words fall short. It can hold not just a likeness, but the spirit of those who give so much for this country. And through my work, I've also witnessed the profound bond between humans and animals in service, an unspoken partnership built on loyalty, trust, and shared courage that mirrors the same values embodied by every veteran. That's why my work at the Military Women's Memorial and now through the National Service Animals Monument is so meaningful to me. Both remind us that service takes many forms and that courage often comes from unexpected places. To every veteran here today, especially the women who served, often without recognition or equality, know this: your courage reshaped our military, your persistence expanded opportunity, and your strength continues to inspire a nation. You carried the flag through adversity, and in doing so, you carried us all forward. May we always honor your service not only with words, but through lasting remembrance, gratitude, and action worthy of your sacrifice. Thank you.
Our final speaker, very special recent designation. She is the Chief Deputy DA, but besides that, and most recently, she is our Veteran of the Year, Ann Masterson.
Thank you so much. I was pretty blown away when I got the email from Andrew Lamarquand, Commander Lamarquand, saying that I had not only been nominated, but had been selected for this incredible honor. Sorry, I'm getting feedback here. But I had no idea I would be surrounded by these women. Oh my God. I don't deserve this award. They do. Every woman who served in the military deserves this honor. So thank you. And I'm not going to belabor everything with reading a bunch of facts that I had prepared, because I can't speak as well as what I've heard from these women, these amazing women that are here on the stage with me today. When I asked why I was nominated, it had to do with the Valor Court, Veterans Court, that we started about 10 years ago. So I am going to talk about that for a moment, because I think it's one of the most important services that we can provide to our veterans who have come back from service with TBI, PTSD, and other substance abuse issues, and issues that ultimately bring them into the criminal justice system. Anybody who knows me and my history as a DA knows that I put away a lot of really, really violent offenders for a lot of years in prison. But the veterans have a very special place in my heart, because unlike every single other person in the criminal justice system, these men and women signed on a dotted line saying that they would die for us. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what God you pray to. It doesn't matter the color of your skin or the person that you love or your gender. They will die for you. And so for those veterans, we owe special gratitude and special exceptions. We owe them the opportunity to get treatment instead of incarceration. And so within the district attorney's office and within the Sonoma County courts, I advocated for us to create a veterans treatment court. And today that is still active. We are small but mighty. It's called VALOR, Veterans Accountability, Legal Outreach, and Rehabilitation. So anybody who's ever heard of VALOR Court, thank you for your support. Please spread the word. If you haven't heard of it, please talk about it, ask about it. If you know veterans who find themselves in the criminal justice system, have them ask about it. We want to help them. We want to give back to them for the sacrifices that they made. And the pride that they show when they successfully complete our program is worth all of it. So I want to just give a special thanks to my family who's been here with me all day, my husband, my children, my parents, my dad who's an Air Force veteran himself. And again, thank you so much to the organizations who nominated me for this. Crazy to me. Thank you.
Okay, our last event, if I can ask the Grand Marshals to please stand up, and I'd like to introduce Jack Shipper, the commander of the American Legion.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank some people before we move along, but I also wanted to say, sometimes it's difficult when you're asked to speak, when the people who speak before you say all the things that you were going to say, and recognize the people that you were going to recognize too. I mean, I'm going to just throw it away because I can't use it. But first of all, I wanted to thank all the people from the community of Petaluma for helping the American Legion every year bring to you the largest parade north of the Golden Gate Bridge. Every year for over 35 years. Thank you, thank you. It is a labor of love for American Legion Post 28 to bring this parade to our community. I want to thank all the members of our posts and of our fellow veterans organizations that have brought this event to Petaluma. It is something that brings us together as a community every single year. And we are here today to recognize those people who have served in the military in a very unique way. We've heard about the admiral who was a computer wizard. We've heard about the nurses. In the book that Kristen Hanna writes, she talks about what it's like to be a combat nurse. There are other people in history who show us that women have contributed too. Our flag was created and sewn by a woman who is known as Betsy Ross. She put her life in jeopardy to sew that flag. If she had been apprehended by the British, she would have been treated as a spy and convicted as a traitor. Women have for over 200 years served our country in a variety of ways, sometimes even disguising who they were in order to serve beside their husbands and their brothers. We want to recognize not just the women in our community, but all the women who've served in the American military over the last 200 plus years. We are going to ask the Redwood Empire Military Women across the nation, Unit 77, to accept on behalf of all women out there this certificate of commendation from the American Legion Post 28 here in Petaluma. And I'd like to read it. It says the following: the American Legion Certificate of Commendation presented to Redwood Empire Military Women across the nation, Unit 77, for outstanding service benefiting our community, state, and nation, presented by American Legion Post 28, Department of California, this 11th day of November 2025, and it's signed by me, Jack Shipper, the current commander of American Legion Post 28 here in Petaluma. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very, very much helping us honor as our Grand Marshals the Redwood Empire Military Women Across the Nation, Unit 77. Thank you very much.